What's going on, everybody? It's Chris with Inside the U back here, recapping day 3 observations and also talk about some of the interviews. Let's get right into it. Josh Gaddis, the offensive coordinator, spoke after practice today. They were in pads today, so that's good to see. Also, Jalen Knighton and Henry Parrish at running back spoke afterwards, and Ja'Kai Clark on the offensive line, and Corey Flagg, linebacker. Plenty of guys that talked after practice today. Hopefully, I'm not taking L's today because there's noise behind me, there's wind in front of me. Hopefully you guys can still hear me and we can get through this. There's a lot I want to unpack. So today during the viewing period, about 20 minutes, which is what it's been the first couple days, I really focused in on the quarterback position. It's a position that obviously a lot of people are excited about with Tyler Van Dyke coming back, and also what does Jake Garcia and Ja'Carri Brown look like behind him on the depth chart. And those were the 3 guys I focused in on today. And when you zero in on a guy, it's a lot of fun to watch him, not just go through, you know, the main passing drills like the deep ball, and I'll get into that, but also just all the little things, like from stretching, the way he talks to his teammates, or how he goes about each drill, or, you know, just every little thing, whether it's handoffs or other things you might overlook. But when you're really focused in on a guy, and all 3 guys, like I said, you know, you really get to kind of know him a little bit more than if you just kind of watch, you know, the big time throws. So I always like doing that and doing these videos where you really focus in on guys. And talking to Coach Ponce, this is a drill we've seen all spring, and I've talked to Coach Ponce about this, but the quarterbacks are going to be expected to throw on the run, whether by design on certain play calls, or if a play breaks down where they've got to get outside the pocket for whatever reason. They've got to be able to make accurate throws and not just dump offs. You know, Coach Ponce really wants these guys pushing the ball downfield on their rollouts, and you see that in the drills. And also they did some read stuff with, you know, just kind of practicing whether they want to hand the ball off or throw it. So they did some of that as well, and I'll show you guys those drills. So Tyler was doing good with that. Throwing on the run is important. I thought Ja'Carri Brown, you know, some of the times, you know, when you watch him earlier this week, you know, earlier in fall camp, you know, some of his throws were off target a little bit. And I thought today, just watching him again, these are small sample sizes, but today I thought he did a good job throwing on the run and hitting his targets, and they have the net set up. So it's not just throwing to a guy, they want you to hit a certain target on the 3 holes in the net. So I thought Ja'Carri did a good job, assuming he was trying to hit the right targets. But, you know, he looked good. You know, he's a guy that's just going to continue to progress, and Coach Ponce has talked about that. Definitely check out the video from Media Day, my interview with him, in case you guys missed that. You know, but definitely all the guys were throwing the ball on the run. You know, another thing, you know, I was watching the deep ball. You know, that was really fun to watch with Van Dyke and Garcia and Ja'Carri. They're all 3 of them. There was a part where I was positioned in the corner of the end zone and the ball was coming right at me. It was just really good to see, and it's fun to watch. And then when you're paying attention to all the details, you can see how well Van Dyke throws that deep ball in particular. And there was a play where, you know, they're not going against defense. So Frank Latson was up there, and he hauled in the pass. And then he looked down and like he ran out around the 1 or the 2, and he felt a little disappointed in himself that he didn't know exactly where he was. But just one of those things that happens from time to time. But, you know, it's just good to see them throw the ball a little bit. But after practice, a lot of the focus was about the running game, you know, because Knighton and Parrish talked to the media. A lot of reporters asked Coach Gaddis about the running game. And I was able to, you know, spend a little bit of extra time with Jalen Knighton on some different things I wanted to ask Coach Gaddis. But, you know, for me, kind of looking at these 5 running backs that they have, and certain guys have more experience than others, but, you know, each of them kind of have their different style. And certainly as a coordinator, you know, you can't just throw out a guy out there that does something really well, because the defense can key in on that. You know, for example, if you want to go toss right because you know that your running back does well at that, defenses are going to pick up on that. You can't just do that all the time. And just kind of conversating with Jalen a little bit, and certainly that's not going to be the case. And Coach Gaddis has spoke about this as well. Whoever's going to get the majority of the playing time, carries, or just being on the field for snaps, these running backs are going to have to be able to do it all. And he made a mention of it again today. It's not just what you're doing with the ball in your hand. There's a lot that goes into it. And certainly sometimes we get in the trap of watching running backs on how well they carry the ball or just things like that. But certainly there's a lot of factors that go into it. We do talk about pass protection quite a bit, but again, you know, it's everything. It's, you know, when running backs are in their stance before a snap, hopefully you're not giving off any pre-snap reads where a defense can see your footwork, or if you're leaning too far forward and they know it's going to be a run. Whatever it might be, running backs got to be, you know, very equipped in all those little details. And certainly when you have a position battle that from guys that haven't had one of these great seasons automatically where you put them in front of the depth chart, all these details are going to matter. And also, a couple of these guys have dealt with injuries in the past. Being out there every day is going to be important for Coach Gaddis. Who can he trust? Who can Kevin Smith trust when the games get going? And I think that'll be a big factor is, the running back has to be as well-rounded as possible and be able to do everything, understand what's going on. And I think that's the guy that's going to kind of emerge out of this group. So that'll be the thing to watch for. Certainly being able to catch the ball out of the backfield is important. That's something with Jalen that we don't talk nearly enough about. The guy caught 20 passes a year ago, and I think it's a great number. If you look back on the running backs at Miami, they haven't always reached that 20 catch mark. So I think that's good for Jalen, good for the offense, and certainly with what we saw last year, kind of diving into what Michigan was doing with their running backs, Coach Gaddis wants to be able to utilize those guys, not just running the ball straight up the middle, but being able to use them in different ways. There's a few housekeeping things I just want to mention because I haven't yet mentioned it here, and I don't want to lose track of it or forget about it, but just a couple number changes. Chance Williams is wearing number 13. He wore 33 last year. Nigel Kelly arrived in the spring, was given number 90. We didn't see him at practices, but he has switched to number 32. So those couple number changes there. Also, Cleveland Reed is no longer on the team. And finally, Thomas Davis, a guy that came in last year, didn't play because of an injury, played defensive line, came in as a kind of a rush guy. We saw that in the spring, but he's been with the linebackers. And then also, I've mentioned it before, but I think maybe there's a little confusion on Gilbert Frierson, his position, because he's, the striker position is no longer in this defense. They have a star position, which I'm going to dive into. I promise I will. But it's a little bit different, but Gilbert's been working with the drills. When I see him out there, he's been working with the defensive backs, with the safeties and whatnot. So, Gilbert's one of those guys. I remember watching him at Coral Gables playing that safety role, and certainly he's been kind of moved around, and he's grown. He's definitely gotten bigger since he arrived at UM. Playing that, honestly, when he came in, they kind of looked at him as a corner. So he's just a guy with position flexibility. He's a guy that stands out to me with his tackling ability. He's kind of put up some tackle numbers since he's been at UM, which certainly Miami likes to see. So plenty more coverage, in-depth conversations about the team, what today looked like, will be out on the website. Also stay tuned to the channel for the clips that I mentioned before. Once again, hopefully I'm not taking L's out here. The noise is really loud. I might have to find a different spot. But I do want to wrap this up by saying that after practice, Coach Cristobal was working with freshman cornerback Jaden Harris, going through some drills, and I just thought it was kind of neat to see. You don't always see a head coach working with a guy, and we talk about Coach Cristobal so much with the offensive line, but look, he's the head football coach. He's going to know what's going on with the whole entire team. Again, working with the freshmen, spending that extra time with Jaden, and then Jaden took those drills, and he did stuff on his own for about 15 minutes while we were doing interviews, and I just kind of watched him. I just kind of focused on some of the things he was working on, definitely working on his stance, his back pedal, some technique stuff that he was working on just by himself. He wanted to do that. And then, fellow freshman Chris Graves came out there and kind of ran some routes. We saw Chris kind of do that at the high school level. So, gave him a good look. Nobody was throwing the ball, but just those two guys kind of having fun. Essentially, you like to see that. A couple guys just kind of, addicted to the extra work, at an early age. So that's good to see. You want to see guys putting in the extra work. And again, it's not like anybody else is not doing extra work. It's just that we saw these guys, I saw these guys, I spent some extra time watching these guys. I had a good time. So I want to thank everybody for watching these videos. Appreciate everybody. Hopefully you have a good rest of the day, and take care.